So first of all, I welcome you all in this High School Connect session for Clemson University with Lancers International School. My name is Nupur Anand. I take care of digital marketing and School Connect. Absha will be joining us very soon. She takes care of School Connect and University Outreach. So starting with the university, Clemson University, I'm not the correct person to give you a broader view about this university. So I'm just giving you a quick brief that university is 27th best national public universities, and this has been named among the best public college values. The Princeton review named as best value college for 2020. So these are some facts which I found about Clemson University, and Tim and Sarah will tell you more about it. From university, we have Timothy Galbraith, Assistant Director for Admissions, and Sarah Snyder, International Admission Counselor. Good morning to both of you. So the school which we have today is Lancers International School. Swati gave you a broader picture about the school. I'm telling you just quick briefs which I found. The school was founded in 2009. And it's the only school in Gurugram with its student body representing 45 nationalities. It also works works with curriculums like IB, Cambridge Assessment International Education, TIC, and Duke of Edinburgh's Award. It is in collaboration with University of Sydney, UNSW, and University of Tokyo, and Royal School of Music. I hope I'm correct, Swati. And the participant from this school is Swati Wirtz. She's currently working at school council, and she gave her wonderful introduction to you earlier. Now I would like to take this opportunity to give you a quick brief about UniBrijj as well. We work as regional international office for universities. We're providing tailored student recruitment services like Virtual Connect, which we are doing today, dedicated in-country advisor, digital marketing, student recruitment tool, and other support functions. That's it from my side. Now I would request Tim and Sarah to take this forward from here. I don't know how to stop it.
I think at the top.
Great.
Yes. Okay, perfect.
I'm new at Zoom, so it happens with me all the time. Sarah, should I make you host?
Yes, please.
Afsha is here with us, everyone.
Hello, Afsha.
Okay, perfect.
Hi, good evening, Swati. Good morning, Tim. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Good evening, Aksha. How are you?
Good, good, good. I'm so sorry. Again, the internet problem, so I couldn't log in that time. Yeah. So, have we started the session?
Yes, and now Sarah is going to present on Clemson.
Okay, please go ahead, Sarah.
Perfect, thank you. So I do have one question for Swati before I start. Do you know which academic programs or majors that your students are usually most interested in?
Well, actually, most of our students, they are going for the business and economics program. So
Okay.
most of them, they go for business economics, followed by designing, engineering, and hospitality. So these are the big ones which our students are keen on. But yes, we have students like this year. I have 2 students for pre-med program, for psychology. So, and visual arts is also there. Mathematics is there. So these are some variations which we keep on happening year after year. But yeah, primarily it's economics, business.
Perfect, thank you. So I'm Sarah, I'm the International Admissions Counselor for Clemson. You can see a picture of our beautiful campus in front of you. So Tim and I are going to do this presentation together, kind of alternating slides. So Swati, if you have any questions for us, please feel free to interrupt us, let us know. We'd love for it to be more of a discussion than just us talking to you for half an hour. But I'm going to go ahead and let Tim get started with our COVID-19 updates.
And I guess let me just introduce myself a little bit. I'm Tim Galbraith. I'm actually a 2-time Clemson grad. I have my bachelor's and master's actually from our business school. We actually had an area when I was here that dealt with industrial management and statistical analysis, and that was my master's degree area that I graduated in. I've been working for the undergraduate admissions office for 25 years now, and I've worked in a lot of different areas of our undergraduate admissions areas, everything from our freshman counseling side to admissions to technology, those type areas. And now I work mainly with what we call recruitment, which deals with both domestic and international recruitment. While we have a fairly significant population at Clemson of international students, most of it is at our graduate level, and me and Sarah are trying to increase our undergraduate population. So that's why we're focused a little bit more on the high school areas at this point in time, and that will be, you know, our primary focus with trying to recruit students from high schools. To give you a little update, as we're seeing the COVID-19 and the repercussions from that everywhere, and we're dealing with it within the U.S. While we have plenty of testing, our testing is so good that we're finding it lots of places. So it's kind of an interesting thing. While our university in the area we're located in hasn't been hit very hard or anything along those lines, we are kind of looking at the fall semester starting here mid to late August and bringing lots of students in from all over the U.S. back to our campus. We are going to try to have in-person on-campus type programs, but we're actually working with what we call a blended program at this point in time, which means that we will try to bring students back to our town, Clemson, and back to the university. We do only house about 7,000 of the 20,000 undergraduates, but we have apartment complex throughout the college town of Clemson, and so there will be, the vast majority of the students will be on campus. There will be a small percentage that are just taking online classes. But when we look at the blended classes, what it'll allow students to do is for them to, every class to be where they can actually be remote or in person. And we hope to stagger the number of people who are in person for any specific class. And that will also help mitigate if there is an outbreak of COVID. We could still quarantine and students could still at least remotely go to class during that time, and hopefully, you know, keep until they're quarantined long enough and over it. We're seeing that what we've seen with the college students in our area and actually throughout the country is most of them actually are recovering very quickly, you know, within, you know, 7 to 14 days on that part of it. So we're trying to do some things to mitigate, make sure that we can be here and actually deal with the COVID issue. So there's several changes that you'll see listed here as far as requiring face coverings and you know, changes to the way we actually have our classes set up. Almost every other seat is gone now. We've actually expanded some of our larger classroom areas. They're, you know, basically have restrictions on the number of people that can enter particular rooms and different things like that. And so we're trying to do a lot of things to mitigate that. And we will start back here closer to the end of August. And we will deal with the situations as they occur. And we are requiring testing when students first come back. And if there's an outbreak, there will be more testing and follow up at that point. Right?
Okay. I just have one little small query. So it's like when in August, like the campus, when it reopens, so the students will be having both the options. They can either do online classes or they can come, like they can physically attend the class, right?
Correct. What happens is if students wanted to take all online classes, we have an office that they could go through and they actually can take all online classes and take them from their home or wherever they're at currently. I think the last number I saw, it was less than 10% of our students actually had taken that option. And then what we have done is made all the other classes what we call blended. And what that means is every class is going to be, you know, projected online. They're going to be a place where the professor can teach, and students can watch those from remote areas, whether that's their dorm room, another area on campus, or even from home. They can do all of those things remotely, or they can be in class at that time. But what we're doing is restricting the number of students in the class at any given time. So let's say it's a just example, a Monday, Wednesday class, Monday, Wednesday, Friday class. You might have it where half the students or less can attend any of those 3 classes, but the ones who are not attending can actually attend remotely on that part of it. So we want them to have an in-person experience. We want to make sure that for the most part that every week they will actually be in a classroom face-to-face with a faculty member who's actually teaching the course. We feel like that gives them more of a connection to the class and to the professor than just an online option.
Are we ready for the next slide?
Sure.
There we go. So this is a map of the southeastern United States. And this is just to give you an idea of where Clemson University is actually located. So our university is pretty much right under the center of that tiger paw that you see. So we are located on the East Coast. We are located in the city of Clemson in the state of South Carolina. And we are a very rural campus, very much a college town, but there's still lots of great things to do. We are surrounded by a lake, forests, farmlands, botanical gardens, so it's absolutely beautiful. But we are still located close to some major cities. So you can see both Atlanta, Georgia, and Charlotte, North Carolina on that map, both about 2.5 hours away from us, depending on traffic, which I know is a thing in India too. You plan to get there in 2 hours, it always takes a little bit longer. But both have international airports, and we are also only about 45 minutes away from another major city, and that's Greenville, South Carolina, which also has an international airport. Tons of fun things to do there as well. It has a great downtown area with lots of shops, restaurants, a beautiful park. And we do provide a free airport shuttle to both the Greenville and Charlotte international airports. So students can utilize that when going home over breaks and for the summer and things like that.
And I know we had a couple of the rankings on the earlier slides, but I just want to kind of point out a couple of things that I think give you a little bit of perspective on what type of university we are. Academically, U.S. News and World Report, which ranks all the colleges in the U.S., we're in what's called their highest level, which is a PhD granting research university, and we're ranked as the 27th top public university in the U.S. And so we do quite well, and actually for over the last decade, we have ranked somewhere within that top 30, as high as 22, and I guess as low as 27, but in those general ranges. So we've been fairly consistent in that top 30 ranking, and that's primarily an academic ranking on that side of it. So we do very well and have a strong reputation in the U.S. A couple of other things that I'll kind of mention is Princeton Review ranked us as #1 for best career services. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But one of the things we like to focus on is outcomes, and not just getting students here and getting a degree, but what are they going to do afterwards? And so a lot of the things we do, even from the freshman year forward, is with the focus of trying to make students more marketable and getting into jobs and careers and being ready for that with different things we offer as far as internships and co-ops. And so we've been recognized as a school that actually places a very high percentage of our students and actually does a good job all the way through from freshman year on of preparing students for the job market. So that's a ranking we're very proud of and have consistently done well in. This bottom one, College Stats doesn't actually rank schools every year, but in 2018, according to the stats on safety, Clemson ranked #1 in the country on safest campus. Part of being in a college town and being in an area slightly away from major cities and things like that is, even though we have 25,000 students and another 10 to 12,000 people who live in Clemson, it's a college town type atmosphere, so it's very safe, and it's a nice place to come, and our students feel very comfortable here. So it's kind of one of those things we're very proud of, having a safe and open community for students to come and enjoy our especially the outdoor areas locally to us. A couple other cool things I'll just kind of mention is we're #2 in alumni giving nationally. And what that just means is all the students who've ever went to Clemson that graduated, they stay connected to our university for life, and they continue to give back and be a part of that. And we actually consider, making a decision to come to Clemson, not just that 4 years, but it is a lifelong commitment. And we provide services to our alums, and our alums who are successful give back to the university. So we're proud of that long time connection. Another thing you'll kind of see is there's some factors down here about we're very active in sports. And so you'll see that our students support our sporting teams. We have some of the top teams in the country on that part of it. And our students are very active. You'll see that a lot of our students will play intramural sports and different things along that. Some of the intramural sports, there'll be 5,000 to 6,000 students competing. So our students are ones who enjoy participating in sports and also being a part of our national sports also. One of the things I like is this happiest students. We've ranked in the top 10 for happiest students according to Princeton Review, but really over the last decade. And it just shows that our students who come here, they stay here. We have very high retention and graduation rates. But one of the things we love to see is they enjoy being here. And so we always rank very high on that part of it. So just a couple of rankings that reaffirm the type of campus we have.
Okay, so this slide has a lot of numbers on it, but it's just so you can get a general feel of what Clemson looks like as far as enrollment goes and what we have to offer as far as academics are concerned. So we do have just over 20,000 undergraduate students enrolled, which technically makes us a medium-sized institution, but we still have that smaller, more personalized feel. You can see our 7 academic colleges listed there. So we have everything from agriculture, forestry, and life sciences, architecture, arts, and humanities, to the business, education, engineering, lots of different options for students. We have over 80 different undergraduate majors and minors that students can choose from. And you can see our 10 most popular degrees that our students complete. So like you mentioned, business is definitely one of our most popular majors. We've got management, marketing, accounting, finance, and economics, and also graphic communication that fall within that business college. And we actually just built a brand new College of Business building on our campus. It's absolutely beautiful. Those students are going to have an amazing space to go to class in, to work in, study in. I just passed by it the other day. It's almost finished. They've got the stock market information scrolling through the building, which is really cool. But we've also got really great engineering programs. Parks, recreation, and tourism management is the closest thing we have to hospitality. And that was actually my major when I was a student at Clemson. I absolutely love that program. I did my internships at a city tourism office and at a 4-star resort. So there's lots of different ways that you can take that degree. And then the other information I want to point out is that Clemson is committed to offering exceptional undergraduate experiences. So we keep our classes small and our student to faculty ratio low. So you can see our median class size is about 19, and that student to faculty ratio is 16:1. And we are also committed to student success both inside and outside of the classroom, and that's evident from our high graduation and retention rates. So Clemson's graduation rate is 83%, and just to compare that to the national average retention rate, which is 63%, you can see that we're way above that average. I'm sorry, the graduation rate is 60% nationally, and we're 83. The national retention rate is 63%, and we're at 93%. So students are coming to Clemson, loving it so much that they're deciding to stay and complete their degrees with us. And those are 2 statistics that are extremely important for students to look at for all of the institutions that they're interested in attending.
Yeah, Sarah, I'm having a small question over here. So you were just saying that you graduated from Clemson and you also did your internships. So I want to understand that how the career cell or how the placement cell really helped you in getting those internships. If you can share that with me.
Yeah, so like Tim mentioned, we have the #1 career services office. I do have a slide about that later where I'll go a little bit more in depth. But me personally, I was one of those students that I would yell at now because I actually did not utilize the career services office like I should have. But my individual department, the Parks, Recreation, and Tourism department, helped me find those internships, and they were really great about placements. And for that program specifically, we're actually required to do internships as part of our curriculum. So if we don't, we can't graduate. So some of our programs on campus do require internships, but some of them are optional. But I encourage students to do it no matter what, because it's just great professional experience and it's going to help you after you graduate. But yeah, they helped me find these internships, set them up, and because they were actually classes, they were always checking in, making sure everything was going okay, talking with me and my bosses to coordinate the whole thing. So it was a really great experience.
One of the other areas that we provide services in, just as part of students' tuition of coming to Clemson, is our Academic Success Center. And this is where we help students who are, I guess I would say, is not really that need help, but basically want to stay on track for staying up to date with all their classes and get additional help if they need it, such as things as far as tutoring, academic coaching, things that we think actually help students learn how to study and actually learn how to do well in the classroom, and help them with creative thinking and those type things. And so we provide those services. With some of our students, we kind of see through like a fall semester, we may have 7,000 to 8,000 students taking advantage of our academic success programs on that. A couple of things I just kind of want to mention is the peer assisted learning, the PAL, is actually a kind of an interesting component where it's a student who actually took the class within the last 2 years, who made an A, who actually works with the students in a class and with the faculty member who teaches a class, and then actually hosts sessions with those student groups outside the classroom time period to work on different fundamental issues that they go through a semester. And that way students may get a different perspective from the student than they did from the faculty member, or it also helps with peer learning among their other students who are in the classroom to actually help them stay up to date. We do have tutoring for pretty much any class that students struggle in. So there's lots of options for students to get outside the classroom assistance on that part of it. One thing I will mention, which is not noted on here, we actually do have some English language programs. We have some English language services. They're set up a little bit different. They're not actually for students who just need English as a second language, but they're to assist students who may have a different first language and in their academic area may struggle with different language or words or components of that academic area. And they try to work with them to actually broaden their knowledge base of those academic areas and try to help to increase their English proficiency in those particular fields so that they won't struggle in their academic area, even if they have no problem with conversation or different things like that. Sometimes, I say even if we speak English, sometimes the wording in certain academic areas gets confusing on that part of it. So we do provide services on that to try to help students stay up to date with their academic work. Okay.
So here's our beautiful career services slide. So again, #1 career services office in the country. We do help students find internships and co-op opportunities. Over 5,500 companies at our career fairs. So the university will hold a university-wide career fair, but then our individual academic colleges will also hold their own career fairs, and then sometimes even the specific academic programs and departments will hold their own career fairs. So it's really easy for students to find companies directly related to their majors. Some of our top employers include Michelin, BMW, Fluor, Milliken, Bosch, Scana, Duke Energy, all within 45-minute drive from campus, which is really convenient. And like I said, I'm one of those students that really should have taken advantage of this. I encourage everyone to start from their freshman year and really work with career services all the way up until they graduate, because there are amazing services that they offer, like resume building, communication skills, mock interviews, major in career planning, diversity resources. They'll help you craft a cover letter, prepare for social networking, and do that final job search at the end. And then there's so much more that they offer as well. But you can see that our students come out extremely prepared, and we have a 96% employment rate of Clemson graduates.
And just to kind of speak to the level of our quality of our university, all that part of it, as you saw in one of the earlier slides, we have 5,600 graduate students at Clemson. So we have a significant portion of our over 25,000 students that are actually involved in the graduate level. We're considered what's called an R1 research institution. Carnegie is an area that actually reviews colleges in the U.S. based on research, and the top 130 based on research as far as investment, outcomes, publications, those type things. And so the first level of research university, those top 130, we're listed within that group for research output on that part of it. So you can kind of see the quality and the range of areas that we have in a lot of different areas. As you might know, we kind of mentioned we have engineering. We have 10 different undergraduate areas of engineering, 12 overall. All 12 go through PhD programs. You'll also see in the life science areas, the agricultural science, general sciences, those all go through PhD programs too. But we even get into research in other areas. The business school has graduate level and PhD programs. Our education school has PhD levels. So there's a lot of research that's being done at our university across the board on that part of it. One of the things I want to mention a little bit is creative inquiry. That's actually more focused on undergraduates, and it gives students a chance to work on real life problems while they're here at Clemson. And basically what it does is it takes a real life topic that is of interest. We have as many as 700 creative inquiries going on in a given year, usually 300 to 400 at any given time are active. And the students get together in teams and they work with a faculty member and they actually look at the problem, and they can come from different academic disciplines. So they get a broader perspective to try to get a handle on the range of the problem, the different aspects of the problem. And then they actually work to try to come up with a solution or a possible solution. And they work on this for over a couple of semesters. It can be, more than just 1 or 2. It could be 3 or 4 semesters. And they try to come up with a real life answer on this side of it. And then many of the students have actually went to conferences and presented and different things along this line. So there are these different aspects of students actually getting hands-on real world options on that part of it. We were in the news recently about some of our COVID students working on at our, especially our what I call our box stores or our grocery stores, our high volume stores that actually use scanners. And what they were looking at is adding the UV lights to the scanners to actually clear the products of any type of COVID contamination on that part of it. And that was one of their projects that they're working on. I mean, it's still in research and development type stages, but it was interesting to see some of the quick thoughts and some of the projects that came up just with us addressing real world problems through our creative inquiry.
Okay, so over here, Timothy, I just wanted to know, these team-based investigations, this is happening all in all the schools present in the university, or it is happening more in the sciences or in the business school? If you can.
Sure, absolutely. What we try to do is have all of the different areas have some type of creative inquiry. Some will be more based on science. We have a page on our creative inquiry programs where you can search the active ones and the historical ones and different things like that. And like I said, there's I think over 400 right now that are active. Some will be, I'll give you an example of something that's interesting that the students were working on, is about the different flavors of ice cream and how to implement more flavors of ice cream, which is kind of interesting because there's more ice cream shops out there who are doing more unique flavors. And how do you kind of add that factor there? So it could be something fun that's marketable that also has some science built into creating new flavors and different things like that. Or it can be something that's a very specific, almost thesis level topic on a certain component of a certain science area. So it's real world problems. And most of them, what they try to do is try to approach it from a broader perspective than just an individual science area. But some will get to be very specific in certain science areas on that part of it. And I'd love to, I probably should have got a couple more examples or different things like that, but there's a lot of different options there that you can look at on that part of it. If you take a look at our creative inquiry at that point, you will see a lot that are across spectrums, and then some that are very specific to a certain science or field area.
Well, and I can add another example as well, because creative inquiry was actually required for Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Management too. So I had to do 4 semesters of this undergraduate research. So for the hospitality field, there's tons of different things that we could have studied, but my group in particular looked at the effects of volunteer tourism on a specific city in Rwanda. So we were researching that, speaking to the locals. We developed surveys to send out and gather that information and see how volunteer tourism was affecting them after the volunteers left, if they were able to sustain it. So like Tim said, there's opportunities throughout all of our colleges for all of our majors, and students have the opportunity to participate in research outside of their college or program as well. So if I was a Parks, Recreation, Tourism Management major, but something in the College of Business interested me, I could apply to be part of that program. So lots of different opportunities for students. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about inclusive excellence. So Clemson aspires to create a diverse community that welcomes people of different races, cultures, ages, genders, religions, socioeconomic levels, abilities, opinions, values, and experiences. Really, we want to create this diverse environment so that all of our students can benefit from the different views and opinions that students bring. So we do have special events, programs, support services specifically for international students. So we have advising, counseling services, a care network. We also have the Harvey and Lucinda Gant Multicultural Center. They're committed to creating diverse learning environments that enhance the intercultural competence of all of our students. And then one of the programs that we have is the International Festival. That's an annual event that symbolizes Clemson's commitment to celebrating identities and cultures from around the world. And that was actually my favorite event as a student. I love going out, seeing all of the different countries represented, meeting the students, getting to learn about their culture, getting to eat their food. I looked forward to it every year. I always put it on my calendar and I was always there. So that's an amazing thing that just provides to the education and the diversity of our campus. And like Tim mentioned, we have about a 6% overall international student population, but most of that is at the graduate level. So that's just above 1,500 students on our campus that are from countries around the world. But being mostly grad, that's why Tim and I are here trying to increase that undergraduate student population.
And we talked about this multiple times, is that Clemson is more than just a strong academic institution. We're more than just career focused and things like that. We want students to enjoy their time at Clemson, but also learn things that they enjoy that make them happy in life. And just to kind of mention a couple of things is we have 150 student clubs and organizations. They cover a wide spectrum of areas. It can be anything from interest areas. I know we have everything from as funny as it sounds, a skydiving club to basically groups that are just community service or different things along that line. And what we find is our students are usually involved in 2 or more student organizations while they're here at Clemson. So they connect with other students, but they get involved in just areas that they enjoy. And so there's a lot of different aspects to coming to Clemson than just the academics. And we try to provide those options. Actually, if we find that 4 or 5 students have an interest area, they can actually start an organization that is sponsored by the university. We want students, and that's how we continue to grow our student organizations on that part of it, is and get into new interest areas all the time. You know, there's what was, I guess we'd call extreme frisbee and different things like that that started one time, and then all of a sudden we're hosting a national competition on it, just from a student organization starting it up at some point in time. So there's a lot of different things both inside and outside the classroom, but we want to provide ways for students to connect with each other on a personal level and also in areas of interest. We are a very strong institution when it comes to Division I athletics. In the U.S., there's professional sports and there's amateur sports, and the amateur sports are more heavily at colleges. In American football, we've been ranked in the top 10 the last really decade, and actually won 2 national championships. And we have about an 85,000 seat American football stadium. So we have a lot of people who are very interested in that sport, but we also have a lot of other high quality sports like in American in football or soccer, you say we've actually throughout our history won 2 national championships and continue to compete at a very high level. Of our 19 Division I sports, I believe it was 16 of them have made it to postseason play over the last 2 to 3 years. So they do quite well on that part of it. Speaking also of athletics, I mentioned this earlier, our students are very active. You know, we actually have a high percentage of our students who compete in some type of intramural sports, where that's competing against other students at our college. But we also have what we call 40 club sports. And those are sports that are not athletically sponsored. They don't officially have a paid coach or anything like that, but they do compete against other universities in our area on a little less competitive level, but it gives students opportunities to be involved in sports that they may have been involved in high school and still continue that on in a competitive way in college. Where we are is a really cool place. We we sit on a 1,400 acre campus, but we're surrounded by 17,000 acres of research forest and areas. If you see some of the pictures, you'll see a lot of the trees and the lakes and different things like that. And we run right next to Lake Hartwell, which is a 100-mile recreational lake that's right next to our campus. But it's actually part of 3 chains of lakes. There's a Lake Jocassee, a Lake Kiowee that are right above that. And so we're an area that a lot of people, even around the United States, come to during the summer just to enjoy the lakes, all that part of it. And we're right at the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains. So we actually have within 45 minutes, we have river rafting of that part of it. So the students can participate in things like that. We actually have hiking trails in those foothills. And we have I think it's about 28 different waterfalls within the 45 minutes of the university and we find a lot of our students, when they have free time on weekends and different things like that, take advantage of the surrounding areas and the nature with the lakes, the rivers, the hiking trails, and waterfalls areas on that part. So it's just a beautiful place for students who like to be outdoors.
So before I go into more detail about residential life, I do just want to mention that Clemson's campus is set up like a bullseye. So in that center ring is our academic buildings. The ring right outside of that is going to be residence halls and dining. And then the outermost ring is just athletic facilities and parking. So students living on campus really are in the middle of everything and within a 10 to 15 minute walk of all academic buildings, athletic facilities, event venues, things like that. So we do have 3 types of residence halls on our campus. They are hall style, which is your traditional hall bathroom. But at Clemson, it's really nice. Our staff cleans it at least 3 times a day. With COVID and everything, that number is probably going to go up. So that's even better for students. They're not going to have to worry about providing their cleaning supplies or any other supplies for the restroom. Our staff takes care of that. Another is suite style. So that's usually 2 rooms and 2 people to a room, so 4 total. And then the 4 students are sharing a bathroom that's inside of their suite. And then last is apartment style. And apartment style is kind of reserved for our upperclassmen, but it's just like a regular apartment. There's a full kitchen, a living area, and then bedrooms and a bathroom as well. But all of our freshman housing is listed on this slide. So the east side has Manning, Burns, Lever, Malden. West side is Core Campus, Holmes, McCabe, and the shoeboxes. They are just called the shoeboxes because they're rectangular. It's not because they're old or, sad, but just because of the shape. Douthat Hills, that's the one that you can see pictured on this slide. It's our newest residential community on campus. It's really nice, and it really is kind of like a complex. It's made up of multiple buildings. The campus bookstore is in there. There's a Starbucks, dining hall facilities, a workout area that you can see pictured on that 2nd floor. And this is an option for freshmen to live in, which is really, really nice. And we do require all freshmen to live on campus. We provide housing all 4 years if students want it, but after that 1st year, it's their choice as to whether they stay on campus or if they move off. But Clemson does have living learning communities as well, which we call LLCs. We have 23 LLCs in total. Some of them are listed there: RISE, Cubs, ROTC. So RISE is residents in science and engineering, and then Cubs is for our business students. But LLCs provide a holistic approach to student development and learning, and they do this through academic partnerships, service learning opportunities, and research initiatives. So it really goes beyond being just a place to live, and they get you involved in multiple other ways as well. But we do have a housing process. If students decide to attend Clemson, they fill out an application. If they don't have someone that they know is coming and that they want a room with, they can fill out a survey, and we will do roommate matching with them. So they can say, what time they like to go to bed, what time they like to wake up, how clean they usually keep their room, so that we can match students that are going to live well together. And then all of our students will receive a time slot when they choose their housing, and that time slot is actually based on when they fill out their application for admission. So we always encourage students, they think Clemson is a place they want to go, to fill out that application as soon as possible, so that if they do decide to attend, they can get a good housing time slot. We also have RAs in all of our buildings on all of our floors there to help students with whatever they may need. And then we'll assign a move-in day and time to all of them once that time rolls around every August.
Just wanted to inquire, like the commuting is not a challenge from the campus to the residency, right? So it's like,
So all of our residence halls are on campus property. So every student, they can bring a car if they want, or get a car once they get here, and there is parking for them. But really every student should be able to walk from their residence hall to their class or the library or wherever they need to go. Once they move off campus, it's up to them where they decide to move, how far that commute's going to be. But we do have tons of off-campus housing in the area. I mean, students, there's some that they can still walk right onto campus. It's literally right across the street. It's just technically off campus. So it could be anywhere from, you know, a 5-minute walk to a 15-minute drive. It just depends how far out they want to go. But we also do provide commuter parking spots, and we have a Clemson area transit or a CAT bus that stops at a lot of these off-campus housing complexes and then buses students in, and that's completely free.
Yeah, I just kind of say it's pretty easy because more than half of our undergraduates do live off campus. But it is kind of interesting that a portion of them live close enough to walk to campus, and the other portion, it's very easy for them to commute in either through the bus system or with our commuter parking on that part of it. So it's been very easy. So students like having a lot of different options as far as where they live as they move through through their time at Clemson. Just want to cover a few things on the application process, kind of timeline, and just kind of going about that part of it. I'll just kind of hit some of the high points. Our applications, we'll have 3 different applications to give students options on how applying. They will all open August 1st. So students can start applying as early as August 1st. We don't do early action or early decision. We actually do just a kind of what we call a regular decision, but we do have a priority notification deadline. We ask the students to apply sometime between that August 1st and December 1st and get their file complete by the end of December. If they do, then they will get a decision from Clemson by mid-February. So if students want to know and have that acceptance in hand, if they apply before that December 1st deadline, and get their file complete, then they will actually know in plenty of time before they have to come in the fall. If they apply after those dates, it doesn't actually restrict it. They do have to apply before May 1st, but we do those a little bit on more what we call a rolling basis. So students may not find out until several weeks after they've applied. So if they apply in February, they may not find out till March or early April on that. So I do recommend the priority deadline because that gets students, especially international students, their files reviewed. And we do try to review international students much quicker, even on the rolling basis, because we know the I-20 issuings is important and things along that line. So, you know, we're reviewing on that part of it, but the earlier they get it in, especially in that fall timeframe, does give us more flexibility for notification and getting the information out for issuing the I-20 for their visa to get here. You'll kind of see we have a spring deadline for students who plan on coming in mid-year in January. That's October 1st. So that's a little bit quicker turnaround, but the October 1st gives us time to get a decision made and get the I-20 out and get the students here by that first or second week in January when our spring term starts. We actually have class registrations before either the spring term in January or right before the fall term in mid-August. So we bring students in it's about a week before classes actually start. They register, they go through orientations, they acclimate to the university before they actually start classes about a week after they get here on that part. That's a little bit of the timeline.
Okay, so now I'm gonna talk about the admissions requirements and basically walk through our application process of what exactly students need to do, what they need to submit, and hopefully the easiest way to apply to Clemson. So like Tim mentioned, we do have 3 applications. One is a Clemson specific application that is directly on our website. The other is the Common App. We've accepted that for a few years now, and then this will be our first year, Common App is new. This will be our first year accepting Common App, Coalition app is the one that we've accepted for a few years now. We don't have a preference as to which one the students fill out. All of them are going to give us the exact same information. So it's really up to them which one they want to submit. I know Coalition and Common App are very popular because students can create that profile, fill out the information basically once, and then submit it to multiple schools. So we do expect to get a lot of Common Apps this year, which we're really excited about. But all of those applications are going to have a $70 application fee. And then all of them are also going to ask students to pick 2 choices of major. And we do that because we have some limited space majors at Clemson, so we can only take so many freshmen every year for those. And the most popular ones are nursing, health science, and sports communication. Health science is pretty popular with our pre-med students. So if you have a student interested in any of those, we recommend they choose a different one as their second choice. Just in case that first one is full, we are able to admit them under that second choice major. But we need a submitted application and then an official SAT or ACT score. We are still requiring those. We have not changed our testing policy. As of now, we are continuing to monitor the situation. If fall test dates do get canceled, we may make the decision to become test optional or test flexible. We are still requiring it because it does give us a better idea of a student's academic performance. It lets us have another factor during that review process. But like I said, we are going to be flexible because we know that test dates are getting canceled. We know that all of the applicants are going to be in the same boat, so we definitely want to be fair to them.
I think so. For 2021 batch, most of the universities, they have said that it's exempted. So SAT and ACT is not a requirement as such. Over here, I also wanted to understand that how much weightage the profile of a student has at Clemson. So for example, I've seen so much of sports activities happening at Clemson. So is it an added advantage for a student to get admissions or scholarships if they have done something in sports?
So we do have a holistic review process. So we do look at a lot of different factors, including extracurriculars, sports, community engagement, and any type of unique experience that a student might have. So it definitely helps us as far as admissions is concerned. For scholarships, at the moment, we don't have a lot of international scholarships that we offer to students, but we do have athletic scholarships. So if anyone was interested in playing at the Division I level, if our coaches want to recruit them, if they want to go through that process, they may be able to earn an athletic scholarship that way. But like I mentioned, we're requiring SAT and ACT. We're also still requiring a TOEFL or IELTS score. We also just started accepting Duolingo as well. So we're really excited about that, providing more access for students and just making it easier for them to get that English language proficiency exam and send that to us. And then the last thing we require is that official transcript from the high school, so showing grades 9 through 12. They do not need to get a course-by-course evaluation done by a company. Just send us the transcripts. We'll do the grade conversions and the GPA calculations if necessary at Clemson. And once we have all that information, that's when their application is complete and we start that holistic review process. So like I mentioned, we'll look at all the extracurriculars that they have, those unique experiences, but also that GPA, the SAT or ACT score, and their curriculum. So it's great that y'all are an IB school because that definitely helps their application.
And I was going to say a couple of things by y'all being an IB school, and I said it looked like you had some of the Cambridge ACT and different things like that too. I assume most of your courses are taught in English. I assume that's maybe the case at your school. If so, we actually do have flexibility, especially if they're taking some of those higher level IB exams in English, to waive the TOEFL or Duolingo or any of those type things because your academics are taught at such a high level in English. So we have some flexibility on that part of it. In general, when we're talking about holistic, we do look at a lot of different factors. I would say this, though, if you have students who are taking HL exams through the IB, that's also very helpful. We're going to always look at academics first, and so we're always going to, the transcript information is always going to carry more weight than anything else that we look at. It's just when we start to see kind of what we would say maybe borderline cases or other factors, that's when some of those other factors come into play. When we talk about athletics, there's a huge difference between a student who we consider an extra component for admissions and our Division I scholarships. They do have to be recruited by our coaches, and usually it's going to be students who are competitive nationally that actually even are competitive for our athletic team. So it's kind of a pretty high threshold. So you're talking about some very high-level students, and you may have a few every so often on that part of it athletically too. But just realize, just mentioning our level for any type of scholarship is pretty, I don't want to say extreme, but it is a very high level on that part of it. And I didn't want to tell you, we had flexibility with those IB programs. I guess this is kind of the last part. One of the, I guess, interesting strengths that we've had because of COVID is we have actually moved a lot of things virtual. And this has actually opened it up to more students. While we gave, hundreds of tours a year on our campus and different things like that, and had thousands of visitors come to our campus all the time, we've actually changed a lot of our things to allow for more virtual. We have virtual daily visits where our tour guides actually log on to a Zoom with a student or a family or a couple of families. They show them pictures in different areas of the campus, but they talk a lot about their student life and what goes on day to day of being a Clemson student and that approach. So they get a feel for campus, and students are more than welcome to take those virtual tours. We actually have some different videos, overviews of our campus on that part of it that students can look at on that part of it. If they want to meet with me or Sarah or even any other, we hold office hours, and we have Zoom meetings with families all the time to ask questions. And now we're not restricted by any type of geographic location, I guess just the hour of the day and different things like that. But we are more than happy to meet with students. And then actually throughout this year, we will actually be hosting, and if students continue to check our website there at Clemson and our admission site, we will actually be hosting different topics of discussion from different colleges discussing their particular areas. And so if students want to get more information, there's a lot of flexibility there on the website now to handle things virtually, which we actually hope and think it will make it a little bit easier for international students to find out more about Clemson and get a little bit more in depth on that part of it.
Few queries which I'm having. First of all, I would like to know the minimum grade requirement of IB students. Like, what exactly is acceptable?
Here's what we try to say is we don't have a specific cutoff. And if you're talking on an AB type range, just, A being a 4.0 and a B being a 3.0, most of our students are what we'd say are B plus type students. So they usually have made mostly A's and B's, maybe in some cases, if they've made B's, they're taking some of the higher level curriculum, the SLs and the HLs and things like that. So a stronger curriculum gives us more flexibility. I think IB grades on a 7, you're probably looking at most of our students being on average what we would say is a 5.5, but that doesn't mean anything. So somewhere in that 5 to 6 range is where we see a lot. It doesn't mean that we don't see students with 3s and 4s and things like that. But overall, they should be trending toward those 5s and 6s on that part of it or higher. We try to make most of our decision on the academic work. And so we do actually have flexibility with the SAT or the ACT. It kind of just helps us to reconfirm the quality of the student if we see a quality test score. But seeing an IB, curriculum and seeing those type level grades are usually what we look for.
So, for example, a student who is having, say, around 1250 on SAT and is doing an IB course, that is a IB certificate program, can that student apply to Clemson?
I would say if they're anywhere in that 1200 range, SAT wise, they're probably a student that we would consider solid for the test score factor. And then if they're taking some IB level courses, that would be a student that we would give strong consideration to. I would say that's on average, because of the flexibility we have with internationals and that holistic review, while that's probably in our, right around our bottom 25% of our overall students that are admitted, for an international student, we would consider that almost a threshold level where for most of our programs, we could admit that student or try to admit admit that student. So yes, that would be kind of that range for that part of it.
And a last question for the engineering programs, like at IB, we have 4 different maths courses. So MAA, HL, SL, like for engineering, will you be accepting an MAI, SL or a HL student as well?
With engineering, because we have a large school of engineering, it's actually our largest area both for applications, but also in the number of students we bring in. We actually have expanded our engineering areas over the last couple of years. We bring in about 4,000 students total to the undergraduate class, but we've expanded part of that 4,000 to be an extra 2,000 engineering students. So we're actually want to enroll about 1,200 engineering students. So we try not to make the threshold for engineering a lot higher than our normal admissions. And the reason is because engineers, there's a lot of different areas of engineering at Clemson. As I said, there's 10 undergraduate, 12 overall. But we find that later on, some of those students may switch to business or may switch to physics or may switch to a different major or program. And so what we try to do is admit overall to the university and then admit them to engineering. We do prefer the ones who are taking more of the calculus-based math instead of the statistical-based math, just because the heavy calculus-based in engineering, the physics is calculus-based and those type of things. So those students have a better opportunity to be successful in an engineering field if they have a calculus-based math. Does that help?
Yes. And is it like they can come with an undecided majors also at Clemson and they can decide it later?
Well, I wish that was completely true, but when internationals apply to the U.S., they do actually require us to admit them to a specific major area. So like, for example, if they apply to engineering, we don't make them specify mechanical or chemical or civil. They can just apply to engineering, and so they can apply to that area and then pick that particular field. U.S. students are allowed to apply undeclared because it doesn't affect their visas or anything like that. So we are very flexible with working with students to change majors and things like that. But with the international students, they do need to pick a primary major. Also, as kind of mentioned, like even with our business school, while we have accounting, economics, management, marketing, all those type fields, students don't have to pick that particular field when they apply. They just pick what we call a pre-business area, and they can actually come in under that area and then move into business. But we don't restrict them after they're here from changing their major completely out of those areas. So if a student's in engineering and they go through a semester or a year and say, I'm really a math scientist. I'd rather be in the mathematics area. We would allow them to switch completely out of that particular major program. Or maybe they end up wanting to be in food science, or maybe they want to be in business. So we don't restrict major changes in general, but when students apply internationally, the I-20 to be issued, they do have to have a specific academic area they're coming in under.
Thank you so much. And yes, I'm making a note of the mail IDs. Probably I can share, you can share it through Afsha. Afsha, if you can share the mail IDs, that would be really helpful. And I think so it was a wonderful meeting and interaction with many of my doubts. And I read about, to be very honest, Clemson was something I was not very much aware about it. I was aware that it's in North Carolina because I visited Atlanta and there was we were discussing about the universities in all the neighboring states. So it was a wonderful interaction, and for sure, whenever I get chance to have some online sessions, like US specific sessions, I'm going to extend an invite to both of you to virtually come and meet my students. It would be a delight. And thanks the UniBrijj team for organizing all this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Swati. And thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Mr. Galbraith. It was really a very interactive session, and we always try to keep people, make people apprised with the things that they were unaware of. So definitely Clemson has a big name, and especially the Clemson football team is very well known throughout states. So yeah, and the admission process was really explained very nicely by both of them.
And the best thing that I liked was that the presentation was very honest. You never tried, most of the time when we are going for meetings, nowhere they talk about that how many students actually graduated or there were some dropouts. So these are some of the facts which are most of the time hidden. But it was really very wonderful that everything was very honestly displayed on the screen. So very impressive indeed.
Thank you very
And I was going to say, I've been at Clemson 25 years. Our university has made a lot of strides in those 25 years. And it's been nice to see the quality and number of students coming to Clemson. And we still continue to worry, as we say, about outcomes as much as it is getting the student here. That's just one component. But if they don't finish and they don't not successful after they have left Clemson, then it's really a failure. And so we do worry about trying to keep the students that are here and make sure that they progress through, graduate, and find, you know, careers that they're happy with. So those are things we think are important. And we're lucky. I know when you said you visited Atlanta, we overlap with Georgia Tech with our engineering students. And then it's closer to us, the University of Georgia is only about an hour away from us. And then we find a lot of people come just up that, what we say, Interstate 85, which is the main road coming from Georgia to South Carolina. And they hit through and they visit, you know, University of North Carolina State in Raleigh, and they visit Virginia Tech. Those are all what we call sister institutions that have very strong academic, strong engineering and science programs, and here in the Southeast. So it's we call it a little corridor, science and engineering corridor, where a lot of people can find a lot of high quality institutions right here in the Southeast.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much once again, and looking forward to meet you whenever in the future we get a chance. And Sarah, whenever you come to India, please do visit Gurgaon and Lances International as well.
I'm definitely going to add it to my list. Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Okay then, see you all. Bye.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Nice to meet you.
Swati, I joined the meeting late, so I'm not sure whether did you get a chance to speak a little bit about Lances?
She did. Actually.
Yes.
She did.
But if you have any other information, you can share it with us. I mean, we would love
So I
to
think
hear it.
so. I shared quite a bit, and then the Nupur actually worked beautifully on the
If Galbraith and Sarah, so do let us know so that we can schedule a session for the students as well. And
Sure.
definitely, yeah, we would like look forward to have more sessions with Clemson as well as the Lances International School.
Same here.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your time today. Take
Okay.
good care of yourself.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Stay safe. Okay. Bye.
Bye bye.